Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamaal Abegaz, and you are watching Together with Heather. You have tuned in to week two of the Black History Month community takeover that Heather has graciously done, providing members of the community of Black descent the opportunity to delve deep into topics around Black History Month and Blackness, um, both in our local community and nationwide and even worldwide. Uh, Tonight, we are going to continue the discussion about the significance of Black History Month, and we are going to discuss the matter with two activists turned candidates. They are, and I am, African internationalists. So, one thing that's important here as we get going is you're going to notice that we're going to be using the term African and Black interchangeably this evening. African internationalists hold that everyone of African descent, whether on the continent of Africa or throughout the diaspora, are Africans, including people in the US. Now, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our two guests here. First, we have Ticharwa Masimba, candidate for Alderman of Ward 21 in the city of St. Louis. Ticharwa's campaign slogan is Black is Back, building a movement to revitalize the culture and economy of Black St. Louis. He has a history of leading economic development projects in St. Louis as the economic director for the Black Power Blueprint. His platform includes reparations for the Black community. I'd like to welcome Ticharwa on here. Also, we have with us Herdosia Kalambayi Bentum. Kalambayi was born and raised in St. Louis, and she has firsthand knowledge of just how broken the system is. She got her start in activism after the murders of Mike Brown. She is running for alderperson in North St. Louis, Ward 3, and her slogan is Revolutionary Times, Revolutionary Solutions. She is a mother of two daughters, Brooklyn and Brianna, and she is also the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. And I just want to welcome the both of you on. Kalambayi, Ticharwa, how are y'all this evening?
Very good, very good. Happy to be here, and I just want to thank you and Heather and Ogama for inviting us. I am happy to be here.
All right.
Yes,
perfect.
I want to echo that as well. I am very excited for this evening. I caught the last show. It was great, and I'm looking forward to the discussion tonight. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And thank you for having. Oh, it looks like Heather just popped on to join us.
Well,
Heather,
yeah,
how are you?
I jumped on. I'm so excited that you all are here. Sorry, Jamaal. I gave you the
No, it's all
turnover. Have been having some technical difficulties, but I'm running to another meeting. I just wanted to jump on and thank everybody for tuning in. One of the best things that we can do is share the platform. And I know that for me, running as a candidate and being 100% in my skin and my history and being authentic in who I am allowed me to become the leader that I am. And so I'm really excited, Jamaal, that you put together an amazing lineup tonight. I just wanted to jump on and tell everybody, hello, thank you for being here. I appreciate, Jamaal, you taking over for me tonight and being able to engage in such a phenomenal conversation. I wish you all the best in your endeavors in moving towards leadership, and I look forward to connecting with all of you soon. I'm going to pass the mic back over to you, Jamaal. I just wanted to jump on and say hello and thank everybody for being here. And I hope we have a great show. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank
nice
you,
to meet you
virtually.
virtually.
Appreciate it. It's good to see you. All right. Well, see, and that was great. All right. Well, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna jump right into it, and I'm gonna begin this conversation with a question that Heather and I believe the previous guest host Craig, if I got his name right, I believe I did, asked last week. They got started with what do you think of when you think of Black History Month, and what does Black History Month mean to you? Ticharwa, did you want to lead off on that?
Yeah, I'll start off. And just to say, I think it's very, very important. This recognition of Black history. And, the thing is that we have to be able to know that we have a history and to be able to say something about that. For example, we have to know that our history starts before slavery, that, in fact, 50,000 years or so, African people existed alone on this planet, on the continent of Africa itself before, the emergence even of the European. So we've been on this earth actually longer, and I say the European because we're fighting to get free at this moment. So we've been on this earth, longer before the prototypical, phenotypical white person emerged than white people have been on this earth altogether. So we have a long and profound history, and our people have to know that. So it's a very significant thing. And I think the thing that we have to say is that history, you can't eat history. We often say in the African People's Socialist Party. So we have to understand that history has to help us know how it is that we get free. So I don't know if I should say more at this point, but I just think it's very significant that we have this discussion about history, and we have to just talk about what's necessary to move beyond what we are in terms of how we understand history.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that wholeheartedly. Kalambayi, did you want to go ahead and add something here?
Yeah, I just, again, unite with Ticharwa, Black History Month, just to recognize, that Black history happens every day, but to acknowledge Black history is very important. And it allows people like me and Ticharwa that are, has been on the grounds in our community, an opportunity to be able to get into some schools and talk to some people, because this day is recognized internationally. It's a platform that we can use, but our history happened every day. And one of the most important things to me when acknowledging Black history is that we see that we are not nowhere near where we need to be. That throughout our history, it helped us to be able to not repeat history. We have to understand our history with an analysis of understanding ourselves. I think that's really, really critical, because I was taught, a form of Black history in the colonial schools, but it wasn't until like I picked up books and read them for myself and learned for myself the true history of Black history, to help me to understand that my history do not just mean that I was a submissive slave, but throughout our history, from the first slave that was stolen till now, has always been resistance. And once you learn how to resist, that is powerful. So I think that history is important, but we also have to acknowledge that it's important where we get in our history from.
Perfect. Yeah, and thank you very much for that. And you kind of hit on something there, Kalambayi, that I wanted to talk about. When it comes to the education, system, we already know that it's just pretty inaccurate and inadequate in a lot of ways. It's stuff that I've dealt with, from a young age, even as a college student here. So I just kind of wanted to put this forth here. Much of the conversation around a Black History Month, it involves that common understanding amongst us that the history curricula is leaving out important facts, specifically when it comes to, African and Indigenous people's history. And why do you think that is? And how do we, sort of as peoples change that?
Yeah, I think I can't wait to Ticharwa answer it. So I'm not going to steal his quote, because it's a great quote to answer that question. But I'm going to leave it for my comrade. Okay. But, I think that, we have to understand how that the slave, it's a slave master. For it to be a slave, and we have said over and over again that we're not free as people. And we know that by the killing of Mike Brown, and historically before Mike Brown was killed, Africans have been killed and no one goes to jail, no punishment happened, because we don't have control over the courts or the police. We see that in our school system when we go to school and they tell us Christopher Columbus discovered the world. And we know that that's not true. We know that Europe was a disease plague place where nothing grows, and they were dying of the Black Plague. And Christopher Columbus got on the boat and sailed, hoping that he find anywhere to go because he was going to die where he was at. And that's not what's taught, to us. They water down Martin Luther King and give us a submissive Martin Luther King to say that if you do think about resisting, this is what it looked like. They leave out, the Black Panthers and etc. So the slave master has an agenda to keep the slave to be a slave. So if I teach you true history that liberates you, then you wouldn't be a slave no more. So it don't make any sense for us to think that the slave master has any kind of legitimate agenda to educate the slave to free itself. So I think that that's one that we have to really understand. And I was telling my daughter, Brooklyn, that I was going to be doing this show and what it was about. And she said, are you going to tell the story about, when I went to kindergarten and it was Black History Month, and she raised her hand and asked her kindergarten teacher, why is the name of this school called Jefferson? And the teacher said, well, start telling her about Jefferson. And she said, well, I think you left out one important detail, that Jefferson was a slave owner. And we should not name schools after slave owners. Slavery was not good. And, why would we, name a school after him? And, and I think that, when we talk about Black history and educating our youth and the young people, it's so critical and important for us to take responsibility to educate not only our children, but our community, and take Black history beyond 1 month, but every day. We have to be leaders that lead by example and constantly study our history so we won't repeat it, and that we would never be bamboozled to think that we have some form of freedom when we truly don't. And only way that you can come with those analysis and understanding is to study history.
No, I definitely understand that, and there's a lot of self-education I think has to go on. But I definitely agree that it does start at home, and it does start with sort of changing institutions. Ticharwa, do you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, this is again a very important question. And right now, for example, to give some kind of real practical example, that 7 schools are closing in North St. Louis, 7 majority Black schools. And why are these majority Black schools being closed? They're being closed because the funding that people pay when they pay property taxes that's supposed to go to the schools have been looted. And it's been happening for a long time. This money that people pay when they pay property taxes has been going to develop, real estate speculators who call themselves developers and corporations. And in the Black community of North St. Louis, and this is true everywhere, they don't develop anything. They purchase properties in many cases, become slumlords, or in some cases, oftentimes they just sit on the properties and let them rot, and they get these tax breaks that allow them to go to for up to 2.5 decades without paying any taxes or virtually no taxes. And then they start buying off politicians to influence the politicians to help gentrify North St. Louis out of existence. So that's the process that happens. Yeah. So the thing is that the same people who loot our schools, those are the same people who loot our community, and vice versa. So we have a dear sister, Betty Davis, who this is the quote that Kalambayi wanted to allow me to say. She says, cats don't educate mice, they eat them. And that's the thing, that if a cat has to eat the mice for its existence, if a cat needs the mice, has to eat the mice for its existence, it will not teach that mice how to get away. And that's a fact. The cat, in fact, will tell the mice that that it too is not a cat. That it is not even a mouse, that it is a hyphenated cat or something like that. And it won't teach the mouse how to work with other mice to fight for its own mice independence. He'll tell the mice that their history began in the mousetrap, and that they had no history before the mousetrap. It'll teach the cat will teach the mice that some kind of cats came along one day and freed the mice, and they should be grateful for this event where the other cats freed the mice. So it'll completely distort the history of the mouse so that mouse will always walk back or remain in the mouse trap. And that's how education functions. You have a whole economy built on slavery and colonialism, built on looting. It happens. It didn't just happen a long time ago with slavery. It happens every day in 1,000 different ways in every Black community on the planet. A whole process by which one people live at the expense of another people. It's like a parasite to a host, a mouse to a cat, And so history then becomes a way of teaching the mouse that it should remain in the trap, So that's why we say we got to have Black community control of schools. We have to have Black community control of schools, and that in fact, our schools and our community, our Black community, have to be made into bastions of anti-gentrification, anti-looting, anti-mousetrap education. And that's how the curriculum should be created,
Yeah, no, I definitely, I like the way you put that. I like that quote. Was it cats don't educate mice, they eat them. I think that's a really poignant way of looking at an education system that, I don't know, it definitely has struck me just as an activist and looking back on my education that they didn't try. They simply didn't try. For a lot of the folks that I went to school with, and I went to school with, in a place that had often majority Black schools, or at least, we were the plurality when it came to a particular demographic there. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and actually want to transition here because both of you talked about, the St. Louis. Ticharwa, you talked about the gentrification that's going on, and I know you two are both running for office there. So, I mean, what's some of the work that you two are doing on the ground and that you have been doing on the ground? I know, Ticharwa, you were working with the Black Power Blueprint, and Masimba. I'm sorry, Kalambayi. You were working with Kalambayi. You were working for the International Democratic People's Uhuru Movement. Kalambayi, did you want to go in depth about that first, or Ticharwa, either you can pick that up?
Yeah, so I don't know why I feel like I need to say it. My name is Herdosia Kalambayi Bentum.
Sorry.
And I'm running for the third ward alderperson. And what led me to run for office is the community work that I have been doing since Mike Brown died August 9th. And African working class, stone cold African working class, grew up on the north side of St. Louis, lived in Ferguson when Mike Brown got killed. Young mother, and Mike Brown is killed, and I'm looking for answers, like the world has been looking for answers, and lots of money was dumped into Ferguson to change the narrative, and I watched it right before my eyes, and I'm so appreciative to Chairman Amala Yeshatela that came to Ferguson as well, and I had the honor to meet him on the grounds at a protest, and I really wanted to be part of something that really was going to help me to understand, why do bad things happen to good people? Because my community is good. And my mom and dad were beautiful parents of 5 beautiful children, but that did not save them from having 2 of my brothers that were murdered, killed. And my one brother that's still alive doing 27 years in the colonial prison system. And I, wanted to be a part of something that was going to actually stop this from happening to good people. And so, fast forward to the last 4 years, me and Ticharwa, Ticharwa leading the process, and me bringing, the community involved in it by the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement, a mass organization that's under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party, that understand that Black people have to be brought back into political life. That a lot of times older people are making moves with big developers at our expense because we are too busy trying to survive, living off barely $5 a day. And so with having community forums in St. Louis, fighting, for the 28 wars where they were trying to cut our wars to continue gentrification, fighting against the NGA, which is a spy institution that dropped drones on innocent people all over the world. And they did this by using, eminent domain on people's home. And also saying Africans charge genocide, a campaign that I led. And I don't know if I said I was the international president of the EPDOM. So it's an international organization. Okay. So seeing these conditions all over the world, really helped me to understand that we need the people to be in office. We need someone that actually understand what it feels like to be on fire. I know exactly what it feels like to be on fire, and not just know what it feels like to be on fire, because you could be on fire and you would ask for more fire if you don't know better. Because something is constantly pushed on our people from the news, the media, and they'll have you begging for more police when police is not the solution to stop horizontal violence. But you are sort of asking for it because you feel like that's the only solution. And so being under the leadership of Chairman Amalia Shatella really helped me to be able to discover who I am as an African and what do it look like to fight for my liberation, and an agenda that's legitimate, that speaks to our interests to stop, the violence in our community. And that's economic development. That is reparations to the Black community. And so I had, I got the experience of bringing the community in and participating in things that Ticharwa would talk about with the Black Power Blueprint. I had no confidence in my own self, and I gained confidence in the struggle coming into Black Power, fighting for my community, seeing a broke down building turning into a beautiful building. And this is what we have to do. We have to organize. And so running for office is saying that the big developers are not going to continue to be able to loot our community at our expense. We are going to be sitting at the table as well. And so that's why I'm running for Alderwoman in the 3rd Ward. This is a campaign for the people. This is the people's campaign from start to finish. Like we could get into more discussion, but right now I'm facing a lawsuit that's happening against me right now from the person that I'm running against. And he's suing me because he say I don't qualify to run for office because I don't own property. When the 3rd Ward, the people of the 3rd Ward, 40% of the people that's living on the north side are living off barely $5 a day. That I am the people, and you saying you are punishing the people and saying that we're not qualified to represent ourselves and fight for our own interests, not on our watch. So we're going to be fighting back. And if I didn't have organization, I could not do this task, because this whole situation is set up for the status quo to use this platform to loot our community. It's not designed for that. And so that's why we're taking this campaign straight to the people. Door to door wins the war. So I'm excited about this campaign. I'm excited about the 3rd Ward and the community that I will be representing. And I have full confidence that we're going to bring home a victory.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And we're going to touch on those lawsuits here in just a little bit, because that is wild. But you were talking about the NGA, and for people who don't know, I just want to make sure I got that correct. That's the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Is that correct? That's the group that's correct. They've been moving into St. Louis, and they're exploring putting up drones, like just at all times, flying around the communities. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of that. Go ahead, please do.
Yeah. What I was going to say in Ticharwa, we like tag team, you know what I'm saying? And so, the spy institution had been in St. Louis on Arsenal for a long time. And they were looking to relocate, and they had various different cities that they were going to relocate. And these neo-colonial, when I say neo-colonial, that is white power in blackface. So Black people that look just like me and you, They go to the same churches we go to, eat at the same restaurants that we eat at, but they are pushing a white agenda at your expense because we have put them in office. And they say that this is development. And they pushed a whole community has been wiped out. A whole community. We have met the families. Some families we can't meet because she had a heart attack literally a week after they moved her home. They sold it to a man named Paul McKee from California that is a billionaire that buy communities and just sit on it. You know what I'm saying? So these are the kind of things that happens not only in St. Louis, because I'm sure that the viewers are watching and saying, that sounds like where I live, because it's happening everywhere African people are. Even in the Bahamas right now, it's being looted and it is being gentrified. For white people to come and feel real good about coming to Jamaica, you know what I'm saying, to Africa, South Africa, everywhere we are experiencing what's happening in St. Louis. This is why this is an international campaign. This is why it takes everybody that is freedom loving, that is saying that I want to fight for the democratic rights. You have to support these campaigns, because these are campaigns to fight against a social system that beat down the African working class and workers in general, all workers, you know what I'm saying? So anybody that is invested in freedom and want to, save the trees, the bees, same gender loving and want to have equal rights for all that, you have to understand that you have to support Black power, because Black power is liberating the world. That is the way the world will be liberated, under the leadership of the African working class.
Thank you for that, Kalambayi. And Ticharwa, did you want to go ahead and just talk about briefly some of the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So, prior to me running, I was economic development director of this incredible project called the Black Power Blueprint, where we went right into the heart of North St. Louis, blocks from where I grew up, and just began initially buying up properties and renovating them. So the first one was a 9,000 square foot building that had been vacant for, we think, a decade or more. We had the people who was living out of the building. I mean, it was a real dilapidated kind of building internally, had a good structure, but nevertheless, we raised thousands of dollars and, fundraising efforts, $10, $20, $50 at a time, brought in scores of volunteers, Black contractors, and we transformed the space. And Kalambayi was one of those volunteers who was there every Saturday, and she organized the community and brought scores of volunteers every time she came. So we transformed this into a banquet hall and community center with offices on the second and third floor. And then we didn't stop. Right across the street from that were two other vacant buildings. Now, this is all on one corner, so just think about what that looked like. Those buildings had been vacant maybe for 30 years, so they could not be saved. We demolished those and transformed it into an outstanding outdoor event space where vendors will come, and it'll be an outdoor market in the summertime. We'll have Black farmers and growers throughout the region come, and people in the community can actually vend and set up businesses. It's got a beautiful garden named after one of the members of the community, and a stage for outdoor events. So this is incredible when you consider the fact that 30% of the population in North St. Louis lives off an average of $5 a day. That's what they're left with. And so we've just been buying up properties up and down this 3-block stretch of land, right in the heart of the most oppressed community in North St. Louis. And so there's so much more, and it's an incredible project. People should look at it. And the other thing about it is that this is consciously an anti-gentrification campaign. That's what it was. It was and is an anti-gentrification economic development campaign, because as Kalambayi said, we have these constant attacks on the Black community. We are attacked every day, all day, to facilitate these developers' desire to loot the Black community. So as she said, there's a whole international spy agency, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, that wanted to expand and took nearly 1,000 acres of property from North St. Louis, from the Black community, in order to put this facility down. And as she stated, use eminent domain to push out 100 families. And then just recently, my opponent and her opponent supported legislation that would allow a billionaire to fly spy planes over North St. Louis, the Black community in particular, for and record everything we do for up to 18 hours a day. You know, we talked about the school closings that happen as a consequence of being looted. And there's policy after policy that we could go on and on and on. Our community is a looting ground for these real estate speculators and corporations. Everybody that wants to make a come up, they use the Black community to do it. So that's part of the reason why we had to even go beyond the economic development work, although it was always consciously political, and go into electoral politics and say that we have to take up space and fight for Black people to have power in every arena. So Kalambayi decided to run. I decided to run for office. She's running for Ward 3 Alderperson. I'm running for Ward 21 Alderperson. And we are putting a whole serious platform of reparations and genuine, you know, anti-colonial, anti-gentrification, anti-mousetrap, if you will, platforms and bringing it to the people, and it's transforming the whole political landscape in St. Louis and beyond.
Thank you very much for that. And I mean, you two are doing a lot of work in your communities, really becoming the people who we're like called to be by Black History Month here. I'm just gonna go ahead here and sort of refocus this on the Black History Month discussion here. A lot of the conversation around Black History Month is specifically in relation to, you know, the history of African people in this country. And do you feel that like such a U.S. centric view is really helpful for framing our history as Africans in the diaspora?
Can you say that one more time?
Oh, of course. I'll go ahead and repeat that. Yeah. Basically, so often when we talk about Black History Month, we're specifically talking about Black folks in this country. And do you feel that such a U.S. centric view of what Black History Month is and who it entails is really helpful for framing our history as, you know, Africans in the African diaspora overall?
Well, we know that that's why they want to call it, they call us funny titles like African American. And I remember being very confused. And it's so funny when I'm at the party, and I heard for the first time, Chairman said, call all African people African. And I remember that was like one of the first political positions that I had took to say that I am an African. But throughout my life, I knew that I had a connection to Africa, but I said, well, I never been to Africa. I don't know what tribe I'm from. I can't say I'm from Africa. And this is divide and conquer for us never to be able to see ourselves as one people. But you can't tell our history separate because we one people. So it's not helpful, you know what I'm saying? Because you are separating our history. It affected Africa for African people to be stolen and brought to America. It affected African people in America when Africa is being looted on an everyday basis, even to this day. And so it affected us from Haiti, from the Belize, from the islands. All of this is our history. This is Black. If you want to talk about Black history, you can't separate it. We one people. We are one people, 1 billion strong. And I think it's not helpful for us to look at our history just as what happened in in America. You can't store it there. Our history don't store it there, and our people is not just in America. Our people have been dispersed all over the world. You know what I'm saying? And our birthright is Africa, and Africa has been under attack and still under attack. The people of Africa are barely living off $1 a day, but Africa is not poor. Africa is being looted.
Ticharwa, I'm gonna go ahead and toss that over to you. I had some thoughts on this question myself, but I'd like you to get your insight on it.
Yeah, one of the things that I upset some white socialists one time because I said, and this is what we say in African People's Socialist Party, or a version of this, which is that imperialism came first and capitalism came second. And the fact is that it was slavery, world slavery and world colonialism at the hands of what would become Europe, that gave birth to a whole world economy that came to be configured around maintaining, the colonial plunder of Black people all over the planet. So what we see in North St. Louis with the schools, for example, that we just used, is the same process that we see in Africa itself, but the same process as Kalambayi was saying that we see in the so-called Bahamas and Jamaica, et cetera. It's a whole world economy that was configured to maintain a relationship of a parasitic economy that forces African people everywhere to act as hosts to this economy, and it just bleeds us dry. And so, yeah, the idea then, we talk about this, we use this mousetrap example in history and education, is to make the mice think that they should define themselves by the property lines of their oppressors. So they draw these little lines around us, fences, if you will, plantations around us, and tell us that we should define ourselves solely by that plantation. And meanwhile, it's just a way of them dividing up their property, which is us, while they work together, recognizing that they are one people. Even though they might call themselves an American or something, the whole white nation came into existence through a process of enslaving and colonizing Africa. So that's the game that they play on us. So we are one people. There is one world economy. You can't understand what's happening in Mississippi if you don't understand what is happening with the European Union. And it's just not possible. And we cannot get free in Mississippi if we cannot consolidate and unify Africa and African people all around the world. And that's part of what the African People's Socialist Party is about. So
Perfect. Yeah.
Can I say
thank
one
you for
more
that.
thing?
And I mean, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Just one tad thing. I'm gonna just drop it. But as Ticharwa was talking, I was like, this is seriously genocide. When we talk about our history, it's history that we would never have because they destroyed it. They destroyed a people's history. I speak with this tongue. We speak with this tongue because they destroyed our native tongue. I was born Washington, and that drives me back to a slave owner. But my history didn't start with that slave owner. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, like the depths of what has been robbed from my people is critical when we talk about our history. And that's why history is so important, because I was just sitting here thinking about how much art has been looted from Africa and took to Europe and places for white people to look at. Just so much stuff have been destroyed and took in front. When we try to like even say what, how to pay reparations, I mean, they just completely destroyed the indigenous people way of life and took the land. And even African peoples. This is genocide. I just want us to all like just reflect on that as we think about Black history. We have to understand that history is important, and if you steal a man's history, I mean you have stole birthrights.
And thank you for that. And Kalambayi, going back to that history piece, just sort of what is taught during Black History Month, right? Black History Month is the time when, we're often told that we're focusing on Black history, and rightfully so. People want to focus on the achievements of Black folks that, we have done, we have accomplished. But I think the thing that is constantly missed when we just have this Americentric view, this US-centric view, is exactly what you said. Just the wide scale genocide. And I mean, this is something that I'm sure folks who watch the show are familiar with. Anybody who looks at the history of the United States knows two things, right? It was built on stolen land with slave labor, right? And while we might know that at a real top level, I mean, how well known is the Belgian genocide in the Congo, for instance, right? A lot of people will talk about the massive murder that happened by the Nazis against the Jews, their political opponents, during the Holocaust, and rightfully so. At the same time, nobody really knows like the 9 million or so people that King Leopold II of Belgium massacred in the Congo. Right? That's not something that I learned in school. At no point. In no world history class taught me about that. I had to learn that on my own. My father is Ethiopian. My mother was born in this country. Very little is said about the country of Ethiopia outside of the context of World Wars I and II. And I think that actually has quite a lot to do with the fact that we were never colonized in quite the same way as other parts of Africa. Despite being in the Bible, right? A lot of folks know about Ethiopia's Abyssinia in the Bible, but we're not taught a lot about history in schools. I feel like specifically Black history, and for the reasons that you stated. Knowledge is power, and when we're talking about building Black power, we're talking about Black History Month, we're talking about counting our achievements. I think it's very important that we are acting in full knowledge of what our history is, insofar as we can find it, we can tell it, because a lot of that history has been inexorably stolen from us, right? So I'm gonna go ahead here. We are getting to the end of the time that I have with the two of you, Ticharwa and Kalambayi. I want to thank you. I know there was a little more we wanted to go over, but I want to be respectful of the two of you's time, and just thank you so much for joining me on Together with Heather tonight. Just a shout out for both of your websites, votekalambayi.org and votemasimba.org, if you want more information about the work that they're doing and their candidacy in St. Louis. So I'll give you all the last word if you want it.
Thank you.
Kalambayi?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just really want to appreciate this show and salute Heather for creating a platform for the community to be able to speak about various issues like this, because these conversations are very important. And all of us have a responsibility to make, together with Heather, for bring more people here to watch this, because these conversations are very important. My name is Herdosia Kalambayi Bentum, and I'm a people's candidate running for office in the 3rd Ward. And it is going to take all of us to make this campaign bigger than life. We know, and we have watched the genocide of the indigenous and African people all over the world, all over the globe. And so what I am asking for you to do is to support these campaigns, find out more about who we are and what we're trying to do here in St. Louis, because freedom-loving people that's united cannot be defeated. And so I really appreciate my time here. Thank you. You were a great host. Thank you for this platform. Thank you for this opportunity. Revolutionary times, revolutionary solutions. With your support, I will be the next 3rd Ward Alderwoman that fight for Black power and has reparations on the ballot.
Yeah, I want to share in the appreciation of Heather and you, Jamaal, and the engineers who made this possible. And I guess I'll just close by saying that we have to reclaim our history. And, we have to make it into something that can contribute to our liberation and take it even beyond helping us feel good. And that's necessary. But, one of the things we recognize as African internationalists is that society is comprised of two components. One is an economic base and the other is a superstructure. And we live in a society, a whole world economy, where the economic base is based on slavery and colonialism. And so the law, politics, philosophy, religion, history, every other aspect of society is designed to validate that relationship of the economic base. So what we have to do with our history and what we have to do with our lives every day is to transform it into something that can speak to our liberation. And that starts with us having power over our own Black lives. You know, we have to gain control of our ability to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. And to the extent that history can help us, it has to speak to how it is that we go about making it happen. So thank you again, Uhuru.
Uhuru means freedom. So again, I just want to thank the two of our guests here, and I also want to thank Heather for allowing us to have this community take over for Black History Month. I'm glad we got to have a really great discussion, not just about Black History Month, but also about what that looks like in motion, building Black power, seizing what Black History Month means, and really trying to materially improve the conditions of Black folks in this country and throughout the world. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight for Together with Heather. Heather will be back with you next time, so do keep an eye out for that. And everyone, have a great night. Enjoy Black History Month. Enjoy your families, and do stay safe out there.